Hello, my name is Brant Hunt. My channel is Discerning What is True. Today is the 5th day of January 2023, and my channel is Discerning What is True. It just said that. And so we're going to continue with the readings of The End of All Evil by Jeremy Locke, a book that was written in 2006. If you can find a copy of it, I would suggest you get it. It's just brilliant, brilliant book. So we're going to look at the section called Chapter 6, Democracy. Okay, so I'm glad you're here, and you feel free. You want to watch this, watch it, but also share it. We need to make people aware. This is a basic principle of how we're being steered in the wrong direction. Okay. Laws themselves does not provide freedom, you see. But let's continue. Slavery impersonates liberty. The absolute pinnacle of cultural success is to convince people that they are free in their slavery. That's what people think right now. They're also convinced if they can vote, they're free. You see, democracy is an invented theory, not a moral truth. It's a construct of evil. It was created to impersonate freedom while still maintaining the grip of law over people. As in every instance in history, the pattern of tyranny repeats itself by reinventing lies to hide the same slavery. Democracy about making slaves and masters of slaves. The teaching of the world's great democracies are those of liberty and a voice for every person. They teach us that democracies are the greatest possible form of government. The reason they give is that democracy offers a voice for the common man. Unlike kings, dictators, and communists, democracy allows most people to have say in the affairs of their neighbors. The evil of democracy knows no freedom. A free person has none to enslave him. Instead, democracy offers everyone the opportunity to enslave you. They don't agree with you because it's called majority rule. Democratic cultures teach the rule of law. He teaches that the law created by the majority rule is morality. Any law, any demand, any punishment is moral when implemented by the majority. Versions of democracy such as democratic republics and supermajorities are no different. Any law able to be passed by the representative, majority, supermajority, or any other group becomes morality. You see? If you can convince 50% of the people to enslave themselves or their neighbors, is it moral? If you can convince 66%, 75%, or 99%, or everyone, is it morality? Ask you that question, folks. The affliction of law is a game to evil. Evil seeks control over people in order to destroy their worth. It does not care who enslaves whom or why. So what he's saying here simply is, which he's been saying throughout what I've been sharing tonight, it's the destruction of who you are. It prevents you from being who you are because of your greatness within you. All of us are great. All of us are that way. But we have been destroyed by the outward force forcing us to obey and consent. If you can, so anyway, there is no morality in law. The Democratic teaching says that as soon as the legal voting bloc approves a law, it is right and proper to inflict it upon the people. So if people want they want a law that actually allows certain things to happen for their benefit, then they will inflict it upon the others. That is the minority. Why should the destruction of your freedom be acceptable just because someone else says so? Does evil become righteous when more people desire it? Would evil be righteous if all people desire it? Tyranny by one king is the same as tyranny by 100 million kings, folks. It's the nature of compulsion in law that is evil. How the law is achieved is meaningless. Hidden tyranny is the construct of representative government. when representative government itself and majority rule is commonplace in our modern world. After so many millennia of royalty and warlords, people have learned to see some of the evil in tyranny. Thousands of years were required to discard the notion of nobility and divine right to rule. Today, many in the world have an understanding that there is no birthright to rule over others as a king. But the Davidiousness of it is that it's evil, has pushed that burden upon individual concepts instead of upon itself. Evil teaches modern people that royalty and dictates were a mistake, but that submission to your neighbors is right. If the majority choose to vote and they feel like they can rob you, take from you, then that's what will happen. You see? But that the submission to your neighbors is right. In early U.S. history, the majority allowed the enslaving and systematic dehumanization of Africans. Did the law of the democracy moralize slavery? Theories such as majority rule or inherited evil. Evil will have you believe that evil is good and that freedom is anarchy. From the position of a free individual, it is horrendous to watch members of a democracy not only swallow the rule of law as inflicted in all manner and form upon their lives, but also to witness the self-same victims inflict different versions of morality upon their neighbors. Some people believe that democracies are safe and proper form of government since the majority of people are decent. They believe that the majority will set proper rules for the minority. This belief teaches two lies. First, that there is nobility in law, that is right to force the minority to obey. Second, that the minority, if left to themselves, will destroy the lives of everyone else. The minority are controlled and forced by a system of police and law to conform to the correct manner of behavior defined as crime. None of this has anything to do with defending the liberty of the majority. It is about controlling the minority. It is about conditioning the majority to taste the taste of evil. The thirst for power over others is the lure of democracy. I want to share that. Bear with me. I think that's an excellent quote. Let me get back to it here. Just wanted to get that shared before I forget it. Okay, there is no majority. The modern history of powerful democracies has shown that there is no such thing as a majority or the minority. Factions with ideologies within populations fragment the democratic societies into countless splinters. Different approaches, compromises, and rules break apart any possibility of a single majority while still creating endless compulsion via law. Because of this, you are guaranteed, regardless of who you are, to be in some majority circles and some minority circles, you see. You will taste both the control over others in dictating law and in the slavery of having law dictated upon you. Your neighbor, who may otherwise think like you, will be willing to sacrifice your liberty to achieve some of his means. Likewise, in a democracy, you will be tempted to make criminals of your neighbors. And this is the classic divide and conquer. You're just fighting one another, you see. As soon as culture teaches people that it is right and proper to destroy liberty under any premise, authority splinters and tyranny grows. Next section, violence and destruction. Democracy creates violence and destruction. Democracy teaches people that it is proper to inflict your will by force upon others. Indeed, it teaches people that they are entitled to take anything from their neighbors by force. Democracies are always welfare states because everyone is able to create laws to legitimize theft. The stronger democracies have, the higher taxation and the most regulations. Government's employees are able to influence laws to benefit their own positions and salaries. The more regulation created, the more opportunities for pirating in the name of propriety. Many wish to control behavior in the name of religion, environment, economics, decency, and safety. Democracies teach that these things have more value than human beings. Evil always teaches that achieving specific behaviors from people is more important than the people themselves. Evil will have you believe that righteousness is found in propriety instead of you. See? So it actually destroys who you are. Let's continue. When the democratic culture is strengthened, it is obvious to everyone that the legitimacy of law is a farce. Any law is null as soon as it becomes law. What would be considered the crimes of kidnapping, mugging, or murder are now committed for you and proxied by police. Mature democracies will find certain people who begin dispensing with the excuse of law and simply take what they want when they want it. This is more evil than law, just more efficient. I mean, this is no more evil than law, just more efficient. Sorry. The height of democracy is chaos of men stealing from men, destroying each other's liberty at will, and crushing the human spirit simply because they can. I mean, look at what is happening with California, when many people just come in any store and they just take what they want and go out. They leave. They steal. They feel justified in what they're doing. So you see, this is a fragmentation of society beginning to crack. It's going to fall. And then what happens, they have to put more force to force this to happen. More tyranny. The height of democracy is an inability to think, to speak, or to act for fear of law. This is not anarchy. This is tyranny. Tyranny is always disguised as culture and law. Perfect evil. To understand the nature of democracy, it is essential to understand that evil is the destruction of freedom. The stability of control is the engineering design of culture. The more stability that authority can be exerted with, the better. Stability in history is non-existent. Wars have been fought continually. Empires have been born and destroyed throughout the millennium. Nearly every excuse for tyranny has been tried and eventually overcome. Human beings seek liberty in their lives. Become liberty is the nature of humanity. Liberty is life. Our continual struggle against evil has been recorded by history. Evil has eventually lost every war it started. This is a testament to the strength and goodness of humanity. It's also a testament of the adaptability and evolution of evil. Every form of tyranny has failed because people eventually recognize it and retrieve their own liberty. Evil has found a solution to its losses in making partners of its slaves. Democracy is the greatest evil that can possibly exist. It is a greater evil than communism and a greater evil than royalty. All other forms of tyranny are obviously evil because they allow a few to control the lives of all. Freedom was destroyed for nearly everyone. Democracy, however, teaches that you are free enough to vote a seemingly better system. Unfortunately, it legitimizes other people's voting away your freedoms. And that's what's happening right here in the last 25 years between the two parties. That's why people vote now, is to quote unquote to force the other group, the government that forced them to be their way, the way they want them to be. And then the other group tries to do the same thing. You see? This makes it evil. What makes it pure evil and the greatest form of evil that can possibly exist is that you also vote to take away other people's freedoms. That's what you do. And you don't have that right. You don't have that right, folks. And that's what's happening. You're divided. A division will completely fall. The country will fall on its knees completely. Everyone becomes a slave and everyone becomes a master of slaves. Perfect evil, that is. You see? Okay, we're going to go ahead. Since that was a short chapter, we're going to go ahead to chapter 7 here with economics tonight. So economics is a study of the trade of work. The principles of money are scientific and is with all truth simple and easy to understand. Government institutions have created artificial ideas such as employee, corporation, and dollar to enable them to control your labor. Their objective is to confuse you and make money complex so that they can morally easily take it from you. Work. Everyone you Everything you do to better your life requires work. It may be as simple as planting a seed and tending the soil so that it will grow to be your food. It may be washing the dishes so that you may eat from a clean plate. It may be climbing a hill so that you can slide down. You do everything that you do to benefit yourself and those you love. Trade. You may not be good at building some of the things you want. You may not want to plant your own food. Trade allows you to do different kinds of work, but to give that work to others in exchange for work they provide you. If you cannot build an integrated circuit, but can operate on a tumor, then a trade can help two people, a doctor and an engineer. Trades can be between two people, 3 or 100 people. But at the end of the day, it is simple as trading your work for someone else's work. You get to do what you are best at, but get to receive what others are best at also. Savings and debt. Savings and debt allow people to perform trades without the restriction of time. When you work today and redeem the traded work later, it's called savings. When you redeem today and perform the traded work later, it's called debt. Both principles enable you to control your labor without being subject to time. Money is the record of all savings and debt transactions. All it does is record what you owe or what is owed to you. It can be carried symbolically as paper or coin or as a line item on accounting books. After you have performed some of your work in trade, you receive money to record the value of that work. Your trade of work can be between any number of people and all redeem at different times. The principle of money greatly enables people and frees them to work and receive the benefits on their own schedules. There are people who wish to use your work for their own purpose without providing anything in return. The objective of economic control is to control as much of your labor as possible. Tax. There is an extra party to most economic trades that take place on earth. They offer no benefit to either party, and they do not allow you to choose whether or not to include them in the trade. A tax is when someone takes money that does not belong to them. Taxes are law and not principles, folks, because they destroy freedom and must be enforced. Some of the people who tax are common thieves, while others are powerful governments. You see. Just thought I'd share that because that's so important. Let's continue. Extortion. The corruption of economics is called extortion. When you labor, but someone else redeems your work without your permission, it is a tax. To tax someone is to steal from them a portion of their work, or all of it. On the taxation, you work but gain nothing in return. Even when the claim is made that the money will be spent for your benefit, you cannot choose what your work will buy. On the taxation, the extortionist is the master and you are the slave. What amount of time that they steal from you is irrelevant. A slave for an hour or a slave for life is still a slave, folks. Failure to pay is penalized by imprisonment or death. Taxation comes, that's slavery, folks, right there. Taxation comes in many forms. The simplest is to steal your money without you ever realizing it. We call this theft. It's practiced by common criminals. The most popular and vastly more profitable form of taxation is to take a portion of your work when you produce it, when you trade it, and when you save it. This is a form which is practiced by governments and mafias. There's another form that is incredibly devious and difficult for people to see. The restriction of behaviors to compel you to do something that authority wants is taxation. Using this method, they never have to bother with money. They simply compel you to do their biddings directly. This form of taxation is called by many, many names. Some of them are price controls, you see, regulations, bureaucracy, I should say, red tape, paperwork, formalities, oversight, Social Security, public works and the public good. Effective taxation is a function of time. A common thief will steal as much money from you today as possible. Tomorrow you will be destitute and have nothing left for him to take. Furthermore, you will run far away or find a method of protecting yourself in the future. Governments are far more advanced. They allow you to keep a portion of your work for yourself, enough so that you will not run away or revolt, but instead continue working where they can take from you again and again. It's just like, for example, if you continue to go on the same road every day, and the first day you get robbed by someone, by crooks, and you continue to take that route, and you get the next day, you do the same thing, and the next thing happens, the next thing, that's theft. That's what government does, you see. Taxation constantly fluctuates as governments test whether or not they can get more from their subject. If people slow down or quit working, then taxes are too high. Culture is manipulated to keep us with increasing taxes to teach people the nobility of government and slavery, because taxation is a function of time. They can pirate from you not just huge percentage of your money today, not just for the rest of your life, but all possibility of interest on your labors. Government taxation is the single most effective extortion racket that has ever existed. The evil genius comes with the culture most citizens consider it honorable to pay their masters. Earn, trade, and save. Taxation is obfuscation in every area of your life. The easiest to see is when they take your money as you earn it. Income tax, regulations, government restrictions allow the extortioners to pirate labor before you ever get to put it to your use. You serve them. They leave you the scraps, whatever the percentage of your liberty or labors they allow. Extortioners take a further percentage every time you trade your labor, called sales tax, use tax, gas tax, and these such sundry names. You have less than you have produced because they already took huge percentage from you. And now as you go to redeem your labor for food, shelter, and better health or comforts, they take even more. This is not all, because they also restrict your choices and redemption. They tell you what is legal to buy and how much, and sometimes at what price. Once earned and spent or saved, your money and property are still not saved. Property taxes and annual license fees confiscate a further percentage of your work as a privilege for ownership of your own money. You bought a house, you bought a car, but in reality, you are just renting them from government. Try not paying the taxes and fees, and you don't. Try not to pay the taxes and fees if you don't believe that. You will shortly be evicted. All this is designed to keep you working tomorrow on the upkeep of your masters, lest you retire too early. Your money is not safe in savings either. All governments control their forms of money, such as US dollar, and it is illegal to trade using any other currency. Inflation is engineered by governments to erode your savings over time as they spend your money through government deficits. Inflation also ensures that as your savings are eating away, you will be forced to keep working, wherein they can repeat the cycle of taxation. Remember that the reason your work is to benefit yourself and those you love. Yet because they are more powerful than you, many people have managed to force you to work for their benefit. This is economic control. This is the purpose of government. Governments are predator institutions, folks. Economic culture. Make no mistake, you are a slave and government is your master. The brilliance of your master, as opposed to conventional slavery, is that they allow you to believe that you earn what you work for and that you own what you buy. It keeps you complacent and agreeable. Taxation is a function of time. They will take just as much today as keeps you laboring in their behalf tomorrow. Cultural ideas like public servant, public works, public good, public protection, and Social Security illustrate their deviousness. They have actually convinced people that having their money stolen under threat of death is something to be desired. Remember, it is all for your own good, you see. Constructs such as employee, job, corporation, and legal tender are rackets engineered by highly skilled extortionists to restrict behavior and to confiscate wealth. An employee is a person who performs work and trade for money. This is no different than a contract, a non-employee, or a garage sale. You perform work in exchange for someone else's work. You create wealth to feed your family and to benefit your life. Employees, however, are constructs of government to restrict economic behavior. What the difference between an employee and a person who only performs some work, if you gather together the thousands of pages of laws, you get the idea who benefits from the artificial ideas of employees and corporations. Governments play employee and corporation off each other to divert anger over the loss of freedom from its proper target, being extortionists. Corporations are constructs invented to restrict the collective behavior of people. If one person can work on a task, it's clear that many can group together and accomplish more complex tasks. It would just be you and me to do something together for someone else in exchange for money. Corporations are creators of the state, call them, created to abstract the average person from the single troop of people conducting trade. If government acknowledged the mammoth restrictions they put upon you, this tells you where you can and cannot trade, what you can and cannot trade, and how you can and cannot trade, and at what price you can and cannot trade. They will have an instant revolt. Corporations allow them to create a demon to hide their own lust for power and wealth. Corporations today attract the wrath of people as polluters, greedy conglomerates, and usury employees, despite the truth that a corporation is just you and I trading work. All of this is designed to hide the most advanced extortion racket in history. Cartels and monopolies. A corporate monopoly is hailed as evil because it destroys consumer choice. Government tells us that monopolies force you to purchase a given product at a given price. Truth is that there is no force. You have at least two alternatives. First, either don't buy the product at all. Second, start your own group to manufacture the product. Given the supposed evil of monopoly, what solution do government offers? Government control. Government is the only true monopoly, you see. You cannot choose whether or not to buy their services. Opting out is called treason and tax evasion. An authority will come to your door with guns. They will imprison or kill you. Government is the only true monopoly, and their monopoly is a monopoly of violence. These are the people that we are taught to trust with authority over our goods and services. Demonizing all corporations monopolists follows the pattern of tyranny precisely. Fabricate an enemy and seize control. A cartel is when the forces in an economy band together to preclude anyone else from entering a market, as with a monopoly. This is only possible with government. Only government has the weapons and police to stop you from selling its product or offering a service. There are cartels, large and small, all around the world. They normally focus on an industry within a country. For example, a government agency that controls the sale of drugs and healthcare operates a cartel. When licensing, government applications and fees become the barrier to entry in a market. Government effectively keeps the existing market in place and keeps you out. If you try to operate in freedom outside of the law, you will be jailed or killed. Many big businesses love cartels because government becomes their partner in keeping competition away. The laws and regulations that people are taught to agree to do not hurt big businesses. Big businesses are the only ones who can afford the cost of regulation. Some people think they are sticking it to the big business when they enact tough laws, but they are actually pawns of culture, and they themselves are the ones who are hurt. Regulations keep big business big and bankrupts everyone else. This is the nature of government cartel. There are no other cartels. Choice. Taxation is championed by culture as the means of building a social society of needs, but social needs can never be met by force, folks. A person who does not purchase a thing by choice can never gain benefit by being forced to pay for it. Welfare and the public good cannot be served by extortion. Only the owner of work can rightfully decide where they work is redeemed. All else is thievery. All claims of need of public good that are not met by free will are the lies of culture. It's correct, completely correct. It's all socialism. When they claim that it's for the public good that are not met by free will, that's a lie. It's a form of socialism. An important principle to understand is that evil wants power over you. Money is the only representation of work. And as long as evil people can compel you to work on their behalf, they don't need to possess money to control you. This principle is exercised in welfare and socialist states. Money confiscated by politicians is largely not spent directly on themselves. However, they still enjoy the taste of power over you by taking and spending that which they did not earn. It's not money that is evil, folks, but slavery. Frequent governments will strengthen their cultural grip over people by spending extorted money in target ways, just as mafias, dons, and drug lords are known to spend on social projects for the benefit of the poor. Government uses money to fabricate enemies and impersonate righteousness. They spend lavishly with other people's money on public works and welfare. In so doing, they pretend to be the saviors of the people while condemning the rich socialists. Or the Nazis, or freedom to self-terrorists, or the Jews. This pattern plays out in thousands of ways, and artificial enemies are always different. But the result is always the same. Governments do not always spend money on themselves, but they always increase their power. Remember that money is only a representation of power. Its only value is in its ability to convince others to work on your behalf. Money's value can be wildly fluctuated depending upon how you view it at a given moment. Those in authority over you know very well that money can have vastly more value than the numbers printed on the front when you use it as a weapon against one group to benefit another. Yeah, this is from what we call the haves and have-nots. You see, and the government then says, well, we're going to give to the have-nots, you see, from the haves. That creates friction, you see. They claim to exercise authority with no gain for themselves, but that's a great lie of evil. Used literally in democracy, it is a debt paid by slaves to be collected by authority and loyalty and allegiance. For all who wish to feed the poor of the world, there's only one solution: in authority. In authority. Just end it. Freedom solves the world's ills. The reason that the earth has widespread poverty is simply because people are not free to pursue prosperity. And free people are prosperous people. Government debt. Government debt is money spent by government before they even confiscate it. That's correct. Such debt has little meaning since the evil is found in the confiscation and not the timing. However, given the culture of democracies, people are taught the nobility of nations and the loyalty of being a taxpayer. Governments know that they can spend whatever they want today and oblige you to pay for it tomorrow. And that includes interest. The nature of natural cultures is such that even when the threshold of extortion is less than government spending, by the time the debt comes due, cultures convince people that it is their debt. In this fashion, they raise the threshold of extortion. People are less likely to revolt or quit working when they are taught that it is their nation, their debt, and their moral obligation to pay it. Bureaucracy is a word used to describe the requirement of complying with government regulations in order to make sure that you are obeying the countless law government subjects you to. You must also subject yourself to the enforcement of those laws, innocent and necessary in the eyes of culture. The truth is that bureaucracy is the patent nature of slavery. Evil seeks to control over you, to destroy your liberty, to destroy your spirit. The more you must do by force, the less freedom you have, and the stronger evil is. Every culture teaches the nobility of law enforcement. They teach that law enforcement prevents murders and rapes, while it is entirely possible that they do on occasion stop violence. The vast majority of modern law enforcement is designed only to destroy liberty and distort wealth. They're just revenue officers, so to speak. Every visit to a motor vehicle bureaucracy, every tax form, every time you are pulled over, every ordinance you comply with at home or in job is law enforcement in action. The culture of law enforcement is one of protection. Their protection exists only to the extent necessary to convince you to submit to everything else they demand of you. The law teaches that you must comply with rims of bureaucracy and enforcement in order to protect other people from you. You are taught that you must comply with extensive enforcement because you cannot be trusted to live peacefully. While culture teaches that the nature of criminality is murder, rape, and theft, almost none of the enforcement of law has anything to do with such things. The reason is obvious. You are not evil. You do not do such heinous things. There is a very little reason to believe that those around you are any less moral than you are. And yet somehow, to support that basic definition of crime, millions are employed as agents of law. They spend all their time making sure you comply with the facets and idiocy of every regulation they can devise. Facets, what I meant to say. The amount of extortion necessary to support vast bureaucrats is almost unfathomable. The amount of law cultivated from supposedly free people and obeying laws is shocking. Yet evil has what it wants: enormous control, dramatically diminishes liberty, and huge sums of money. Building codes, environmental regulations, local planning, and on and on. Each one is justified in a modern culture. Each one has armies support them. each one with just one thing in common. Their enforcement by law destroys freedom. If any of these goals were notable in their own right, they would not need force to accomplish them. Amen, brother. Their true result is to raise costs through increased property tax, impact fees, license fees, business fees, employment taxes, you name it. Even government programs designed to cultivate seemingly noble goals such as ownership societies are inherently evil. They're designed to stabilize populations. What that means is they get more people to commit to a location and a cost on long-term finances so that it's harder to escape taxation. If government actually wanted families to own their own homes, it would simply stop charging their rent every year. Price controls. Government sometimes implements price controls. They dictate under force of law what prices you must sell your work at. They dictate under threat of imprisonment or death how much you will produce your labor for. And government regulates cartels like healthcare. Government pretends to reduce costs either directly through price mandates or indirectly by buying services on behalf of citizens. Using either method, they insert the tentacles of control under the guise of protecting the poor from greedy corporations and capitalists. By forcing people to work at artificial wages, they destroy the competition of a free market. When freedom is destroyed, only the powerful can survive. Cartels are thus forged with governments. They're bonded. Powerful business watch their weaker competition fall to bankruptcy. Government makes sure it is prohibited expensive to enter the market with fees and licensing requirements. Businesses then can enjoy government mandated prices with no competition. Governments can enjoy control of prices, therefore guarantee taxes. The intent of price controls are not to keep prices down, but to keep them up. Big business loves government regulations. Regulation ensures that only the well-established and extremely well-financed can compete. People seeking to trade their skills, products, or expertise are by the impossible demands of government. Thusly, big business is an extension of the compulsiveness of government. Anti-business regulations that people are taught to support are actually good for big business instead of hindering them. Such regulations destroy your liberty. Protectionism. Protectionism teaches that those within one nation or border should exclude others from trade under force of law. This takes place as restrictions on buying and selling products and services as well as employing people. Why should the citizen of one nation be less entitled to wages or job than the next? Protectionism is that simple. Are those outside your border inferior human beings that they should be kept from working by force? What morality exists in the teaching that one group of people is more valuable than another because of where they were born or where they live? Freedom is about the value of people. The disparity between personal profits of people in different lands is large. In one area, a family may make hundreds of times less than those in another area. If all people had the same value, why is force employed to stop the poor from earning money at any job they are willing to perform? If the poor want to sell something to a powerful nation, the people of that nation want to purchase it because it is sold at a lower cost. Why should the government wish to hamper what benefits both people? Governments use force to stop items from being sold within their borders at lower cost than what they are and the other nations will produce. We are taught that the reason for destroying the liberty of people is that they are protecting the industries of their land. It's not hard to see the truth in evil when government enlarges. It is not hard to see the truth in evil when governments extract large percentages of money from trades. The higher the cost of the product, the higher the extracted tax. Protection, as always, is slavery. Education. Government controls education for the purpose of culturing employees. The objective of state education is the stabilization of the tax base. Schooling and education and knowledge are not the same thing. One is not as natural result of the other. People grow in knowledge when they learn truths. Teaching and schooling are meaningless when students do not seek wisdom. They're likewise meaningless when that which is being taught is not wisdom. In order to learn, people must thirst for knowledge. Force and compulsion cannot accomplish this. Law does not pretend to teach people their worth or abilities of achievement. Law desires only that you learn obedience. Not only does law provide a way for students to learn the merits of social and economic obedience to authority, it enforces a near perfect monopolization against all other teachers. Private schools and parents themselves are nearly shut out from teaching children their one lesson they need, an understanding of their own value and potential. When people understand that their minds are truly capable of anything, that they are able to learn and grow according to their dreams, they tend to make poor citizens. They question culture and oppressive authority. They reject taxation. They are stronger, more peaceful, more prosperous, and more independent. All of this is wonderful for humanity and destroys evil. Revealing truth. To see the truth is a good idea to flip it upside down. Socialism teaches that people deserve to receive the benefits of working without actually working. Flipped upside down, socialism teaches that those who work must work not only for themselves, but for everyone else as well, as with all authority. There is no choice, no opting out. Socialism reveals forced labor. Price controls teaches that people deserve to receive products and services at a proper price. Flipped upside down, price controls teach that you must work to create products at the price government says you must work for. So price control reveal forced labor. Welfare teaches that people deserve to receive the basic necessity of life without needing to work for them. Flipped upside down, welfare teaches that those unwilling to labor for their own benefit can extract it from you. Welfare reveals forced labor. Bureaucracy teaches that people should be able to expect others to behave according to strict rules to benefit everyone. But flip it upside down, bureaucracy teaches that to keep bureaucratic employees in the money, everyone must jump through the hoops and pay fees and fines. Bureaucracy reveals forced labor. Taxation teaches that people deserve to receive roads, protection, school, and all other manners of services, even if they cannot afford them. Flipped upside down, taxation teaches that people have the right to force their neighbors to pay for services without the hassle of asking for permission. Taxation reveals forced labor. All economic control is slavery. I'm going to take a break here, and we'll read chapter 8. I think this might be the last chapter, so we'll take a break right now, okay?